Welcome to Oversight Overview, a video series by the Levin Center's State Oversight Academy at Wayne State University Law School. We will take a look at how states across the country are performing oversight of a particular issue or in a particular way. Today, we will be examining water infrastructure. Before we dive into some state examples, let's quickly look at recent federal investment in protecting and managing America's water resources and systems. The 2021 Bipartisan Infrastructure Law included $55 billion for water infrastructure covering 7 major programs: the Drinking Water and Clean Water State Revolving Funds, lead service line replacement, PFAS and emerging contaminants, Indian water rights, Indian Health Service sanitation facilities construction, water and sewer tax, and Western water and rural water projects. In addition, more than $44 billion of the 2021 American Rescue Plan Act's $350 billion has been allocated for state projects that improve clean drinking water access, wastewater management, stormwater collection, and address climate change impact. You can find resources in the accompanying document if you're interested in learning more about these programs, but this is enough information for us to work with here. The important takeaway is that with all these new funds, oversight of water infrastructure became even more crucial. Now, let's look at how the legislatures in Montana, Minnesota, and Washington State are using their oversight authority to address water issues. We'll start in Big Sky Country. Montana has received $2 billion from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law for water projects. The legislature's Joint Water Policy Interim Committee, or WPIC, was established in 2009 to advise the legislature on the state's water policy and oversee programs that affect the water resources of the state. It is not a budget committee and does not appropriate funds. The legislature also created the ARPA Communications Advisory Commission to provide recommendations to the governor for spending BIL and ARPA funds. During the 2023 to 2024 legislative session, the committee studied the state water plan and the governor's report on water storage. It passed HB 520 in May 2023, which required a study on the effects of private ponds on the state, permitting, water rights, and options to mitigate negative impacts, including invasive species and threats to wild fish and aquatic resources. The WPIC also has administrative rule review oversight authority over the rules that concern the quality or quantity of water and for rules promulgated by the Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. A full review of this authority can be found on the committee's website and is linked in the accompanying document. Administrative rule review is an important avenue of oversight as identified by the Levin Center's 50-state study in 2018. WPIC has examined the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation's Drought Management Plan, the water levels of Flathead Lake, nutrient levels, the Bureau of Mines and Geology's Groundwater Assessment Program, and aquifer storage. State law mandates reports from various agencies be provided to the committee, covering topics such as hydroelectric power, groundwater, water storage, water rights, the Renewable Resource Grant and Loan Program, state water reservations, weather modification feasibility studies, and conservation. WPIC is a partisan committee with 10 members, 6 representatives, 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and 4 senators, 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat. This is representative of the full makeup of the chambers. It has met 7 times between July and March this interim session, and the Subcommittee on Water Rights Information System has met twice. Agendas, minutes, and audio and video of the committee meetings are available online, as well as for all previous sessions. Last session, the committee met 14 times, and a special committee on selenium standards for Lake Koocanusa met 3 times. Early in the 2023 session, a Republican member of the special committee introduced a bill to repeal the current water quality standard and almost double the limit of selenium allowed in the lake. Although the standards had been the result of more than a decade of research on the lake's wildlife, he said that the changes were rushed because he had seen no 2-headed fish. The bill died in committee. The full committee met again on the selenium issue in October 2023 to discuss the implications of involving the International Joint Commission in the situation, as 90% of the lake's selenium pollution comes from coal mines just north of the U.S.-Canadian border. Some members expressed support for the mining interests, despite concerns of the Native American tribes in the region and the risk to threatened fish species in the lake and nearby river. Additional considerations, including increased bureaucracy, involvement of the federal and foreign governments, and lawsuits between the DEQ, Montana Board of Environmental Review, and conservation groups were also raised. This issue involves a litany of complexities concerning all three branches of Montana's state government, Native American tribes and federations in multiple states, the U.S. federal government, and the Canadian government. In March of this year, the United States and Canada agreed that the International Joint Commission would intervene in the situation. The situation provides a strong example of why the State Oversight Academy stresses the importance of reaching consensus on the facts to determine the best steps for meaningful reform. What better place to examine water oversight than the land of 10,000 lakes? Minnesota has received $421 million from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law for water projects. The Legislative Coordinating Commission's Subcommittee on Minnesota Water Policy was established in 2019 to replace the expiring Legislative Water Commission and to review water policy reports and recommendations of the Environmental Quality Board, the Board of Water and Soil Resources, the Pollution Control Agency, the Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Health, the Department of Agriculture, the Metropolitan Council, and other water-related reports as may be required by law or the legislature, and to make recommendations to the legislature. The subcommittee is comprised of 6 senators and 6 representatives of equal partisanship. It met 4 times in 2023 and has met 4 times so far in 2024. This year, it has heard testimony regarding pollution caused by road salt, insecticide contamination, nitrate concentrations in private drinking water wells, the metro area water supply plan, and feedlot runoff at concentrated animal feeding operations. The subcommittee examined Nebraska statutes in December when considering how to address elevated nitrates in drinking water, a great oversight idea. Most issues that legislatures deal with don't stop at the state line, so looking at what other states have already done and what is working well, or not, can be helpful. The subcommittee's efforts appear to have inspired the introduction of several bills this session, including measures to establish a certified salt applicator program, appropriate funds for a sustainable water pilot program, and reestablish several commissions to advance oversight on this important issue. Turning to Washington, the evergreen state is working hard on water infrastructure to keep things green. Washington has received $492 million for water projects from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. The Washington State Legislature established multiple task forces regarding water issues long before the law's passage, so let's look at the longest-running one. The Joint Legislative Committee on Water Supply During Drought was established to make recommendations to the legislature on budgets and legislative actions that will improve the state's drought response programs and planning. The committee may request and review information related to water supply conditions in the state and economic, environmental, and other impacts relating to decreased water supply being experienced or anticipated. State agencies with water management responsibilities, including the Governor's Executive Water Emergency Committee and the Department of Ecology, are required to cooperate with the committee. The legislature formed the committee in 2005 and charged it to convene from time to time, but it does not appear to have met until 2010. It met 6 times in 2015, twice in 2019, 3 times in 2021, once in 2022, and twice in 2023. It is a bipartisan committee with 4 senators and 4 representatives, 2 Democrats, and 2 Republicans from each house. The committee hears regular drought updates from the Department of Ecology, current conditions and seasonal outlooks from climatologists, and presentations on topics including drought impacts on habitats, federal crop insurance, and recent advances in the science of cloud seeding. In 2023, the Department of Ecology requested legislation to provide more funding for drought preparedness and emergency response. A member of the task force and a bipartisan group of representatives sponsored SHB 1138, which gives the department $2 million in fiscal year 2023 to 2025 for drought planning, preparedness, and climate resiliency, provides $3 million immediately when a drought is declared, and amended prior legislation so that emergency response products don't have to be completed during declared droughts. It passed both houses unanimously and was signed into law. The Joint Legislative Task Force on Water Supply was established in 2018. It met 3 times in 2019 and twice in 2020, 2021, and 2022. The Joint Legislative Task Force on Water Resource Mitigation, or the Foster Task Force, was established in 2018 and met twice in 2019, once in 2020, 3 times in 2021, and 5 times in 2022. Both have equal partisan legislative membership, but also include members from relevant departments and organizations in the state. This can be a great approach, but for the purposes of comparison, we will keep our focus on strictly legislative committees. All three of these committees have been around for quite some time. Consistent oversight is important, especially when there are long-standing issues such as droughts in the western states. Droughts will be a continuous and worsening problem as we see the increasing effects of climate change, so keeping a close eye on relevant policies and making changes when necessary is critical. The three committees are also all joint. Minnesota and Washington's have equal chamber representation, while Montana has 6 representatives and 4 senators. Minnesota and Washington's are both bipartisan, while Montana's has 7 Republican members and 3 Democrats. While the committee and its special committees have generated important reports from scientists and government agencies about the water issues facing the state, it appears that the members have difficulty finding consensus on these facts. Bipartisan membership could help overcome this obstacle. All the committees oversee water policy, but the Washington Committee also oversees budget. With the recent influx of federal funds for water infrastructure products, this oversight is essential. We'll be back soon for another oversight overview, but until then, we're heading back to the Levin Center in Detroit. If there's a topic you'd like to see us cover, or if you have any questions about oversight in your state, we'd love to hear from you. Please check out the State Oversight Academy website at stateoversight.org. Our contact information and links for more information on what you've seen in this video are available in the accompanying document. Thanks for joining us.